everyone, it's Jackie at Spare Room Studio. I'm back today to colour the Starcatcher in Moonlight Mischief by RJHampson. Now I would like to say before I start, I am going to try the Crayola Supertips technique again in this book. It is Australian Amazon printed, and the Australian Amazon printed books do have slightly heavier pages than a lot of the rest of the world, and there's some tooth to it, so please keep in mind when you're watching me do this one that my paper is a little bit sturdier than most other Amazon printed books, so just keep that in mind. Now I've also got with me here some other Crayola products. I've got the Crayola Pipsqueaks, which are washable, so I'm going to try them and see how they work in a colouring book with this technique. I've also got some Crayola Clicks retractable markers to try, and I've just got the regular Supertips in the 100 colours, and I've also got the Supertips pastel. So that's what I'm going to start with. Today I've been quite busy doing some sort of, general housework jobs and so on that have been put off for a while. So I've been running around and quite busy, and I'm feeling a little bit flustered and not out of sorts, but I feel like I'm not thinking clearly, and I really felt like I just wanted some downtime. So I've decided that colouring is going to be my downtime, and I want to try some of these different things and see how they work. My granddaughter has these Crayola Pipsqueaks as well, and when we colour together and she lets me use her markers, I've quite enjoyed using those, so I thought I'm going to get myself some, and if they don't work with the water in the same way as the Crayola Supertips, there's really nothing lost, because they are nice markers to work with anyway. And already I can see that they're not bleeding exactly like the Supertips do. I'm guessing that the Supertips themselves must have a slightly different makeup to a lot of the other products. And that looks like it's meant to be black. Oh, it actually says Tiny Plum. It's like a very deep indigo sort of blue. So that's interesting. I just assumed it was black. They're not bleeding quite like the Supertips do. And also I have to say that this particular Amazon book is also not reacting to water exactly like some of the others that I have. So I've mentioned this in several other videos again, and at the risk of repeating myself and driving you all mad, it's important, in case somebody's only just tuning in for the first time and hasn't watched those other videos, but you really do need to do sort of testing, your own sort of testing in the back of your books prior to trying any of these newer techniques. Personally, I don't get too stressed about ruining pages. I don't really feel like there is such a thing as ruining pages, so even when one of these little experiments doesn't work out like I hope it will, I still feel like there's a lot to be gained from it, so I don't feel like that's a failure or ruining something. So I tend to dive in, but I'm not recommending that you all throw caution to the wind like that if you're not comfortable working that way. So tests in the back of the book are really important, and particularly when you're getting a new book, even if it's an Amazon printed book. This is an example of how sometimes the paper does react differently. When you get a new product, obviously it's new to you, you don't know how it's going to behave, then it's always wise to try a little test at the back or somewhere inconspicuous until you know what's going to happen. And go from there, because I've had a few people sort of leave comments and ask me, have I thought about doing other ways of working, or asking questions about why I do things the way I do. There's a number of reasons. Sorry, that's Hamish, if you can hear him in the background. It's a beautiful day and I'm trialling him spending some time outside on his own while I'm inside. And he can probably hear my voice, and so he's scratching at the back door. I have attempted gesso before in the past, laying down a layer of gesso. I don't like it, and I'm also very lazy, so I choose not to do it because I'm lazy primarily, but also I wasn't overly impressed with the results that I got from it, and that's more than likely user error, and I quite openly admit that. But colouring books for me are my relaxation, and I really want it to be quick, easy. I want the best results that I can get for the least effort, and quite frankly, this is enough result for me. I don't worry about the wrinkling of the paper. I comment on it purely so that you know that that's what's happening, but it really does not bother me. So wrinkling of the paper doesn't bother me, bleed through doesn't bother me. I sometimes get annoyed when I forget to put blotter sheets down and things like that, but usually when I choose to work a certain way, I've looked at the back of the page, I've determined whether I feel like it's okay to sacrifice that should there be a problem and bleed through. And I've thought about that ahead of time most of the time, and I own enough colouring books that if I ruin a couple of pages to bleed through or wrinkling, from the water, in the whole scheme of things for me, it really does not touch the amount of pages that I've got left uncoloured in my books. And so if I was still, starting out and my collection was small, and I felt that my books were quite precious to me, I would obviously be thinking differently, but I'm not. I've got quite a sizable collection now that's actually starting to feel a little bit too big of a collection, so I'm madly trying to colour pages as quickly as I can, because this is purely my thinking. My thinking is I've got far too many books, I've got more than enough images to colour, and I would like to get a fair proportion of those books coloured. That's my goal. And so I've decided that I really need to get, you know, cracking on this goal. If I'm going to get any close to finishing some books anytime soon, I need to speed up my working methods, and that's why working with the Crayola markers in this particular way has really been appealing to me. It's also why I like Derwent Inktense and any sort of watercolour pencils that I've got, because they generally do speed my colouring time up a lot. Even if I come back and add pencils or some other medium to it, just getting that base layer down in watercolour or marker, and alcohol marker comes into this as well, just doing that greatly speeds up my productivity. It's easier for me, it's easier on my hands. I'm getting quick results, which satisfies my, my need to actually see progress. And I've made sure I've got plenty of backing sheets in there today. Working in this manner may appear a little bit slapdash to some of you, but it really is helping me achieve my personal goals. And I'm satisfied with it. But that's not to say that this is going to suit you all. And so I usually make reference to what the downsides are of working this way for your benefit, so that if it's going to really bother you to have some of these things happen, you're prepared. It'd be awful if I said to you, yeah, dive in, do this, do that, this is great technique for your books and so on, and I don't warn you that this is what potentially can happen to your books. You're going to get really cross with me. There's going to be some unhappy people. So I like to try and sort of be transparent about the pitfalls of what I'm doing, along with the potential benefits, depending on how you view it. I've got quite a bit of bleed through here now coming over on this moon, but I'm not going to stress too much about that, because I'm thinking that further down the track, when it's all dry, I could use some acrylic paint pen on the moon. So that bleed through doesn't really matter, and therefore I don't have to be quite so careful. It'd be great to not have that on there and to limit it, but if it is going to go on there, I'm not too stressed by that either, because that acrylic paint pen's going to be a good enough workaround for that. So a little bit about what I'm actually thinking as I'm doing this one. It's called Starcatcher, but we've got some fish here. So what looks to be sky also has this dreamy fish floating by, and the turtle, which looks very much like a sea turtle. And you've got, these lovely little characters who look like they're out to catch stars, and we've got jellyfish. And so what I'm trying to do here with this is firstly suggest a night sky, but a very watery night sky, so it could almost be interpreted as water as well. So that's why I've gone for the very washy, watery effects. And stay to sort of the sky colours more so than watercolours, because I want it to be, you know, first off say night sky, and then hang on a minute, what are those fish doing? Is it a sky? You know, and that's where the storytelling comes into it. And you as the viewer then get to make that story up and decide what you think it's telling you. So that's my thought process. Whether it works successfully that way is yet to be seen, but that's what I'm thinking as I'm starting out. So another reason that I'm not really into preparing the pages and so on is that I'm quite limited for working space still at the moment. I've got an awful lot of things that I've got tucked away in storage baskets up on top of a wardrobe that I've even forgot that I have. Unless I go climbing on a chair or get a small ladder out, my wardrobe is incredibly high. I don't go into those baskets very often, and so I've forgotten what I've got in a lot of those things. And at this point in time, I don't want to keep adding to my collection of supplies too much. Where I'm going to use it and work is another problem. At the moment, I'm at my dining room table, and when my granddaughter is here, everything has to be packed away, or otherwise her little inquisitive 5-year-old fingers think that everything is for her to discover. And the idea of tubs of gesso and so on, no, it's not going to happen with her. And I basically have to clear this table off every time I finish working, because if it's not my granddaughter here, my son and his partner, I don't know what the politically correct way to discuss somebody's romantic partner is these days, girlfriend, partner. They sometimes sit at the table to eat meals, and I don't always know when they are going to be home. So therefore everything needs to be cleared away if they're going to be needing the table. And so things really have to be quick and easy to pack up. And that's why this method with a plate and a bit of paper towel and a water brush is incredibly quick and easy at the moment. When I'm not working here, I'm sitting on the couch, and I don't even use the plate and this method when I'm sitting at the couch, because I've now got a dog who's decided that he's not so frightened anymore, and he might like to try being a lapdog, and he's far too big to be a lapdog, but that doesn't stop him still squeezing on the couch and pushing myself and my husband as far apart as he can. So I definitely do not do this method when I'm sitting at the couch of an evening watching TV. And it's just a current season of life that I hope, you know, it's not always going to be like this. But at the current moment, it is like this. So I just have to work with it. And I've tried lots of different ways, methods, means and so on, and I'm just working in a manner that suits me best at the moment. So thank you for suggestions, they're much appreciated. If I say that, you know, I've tried it and I don't like it or whatever, it's not a personal rebuttal to your suggestion, but it's just an explanation of where I am at this current moment in time and why perhaps that idea, you know, could or couldn't work for me. So please don't feel like I'm just poo-pooing all ideas. I'm not. But as someone who has worked creatively, creating original art in the past and so on, there's an awful lot of products and methods and things that I've tried in the past and discovered that they're not for me. And colouring is really just sort of a recent incarnation of what my creative life is doing. But yeah, so please don't take any of my answers as a sort of negative rebuttal. But, you know, I will explain, generally, I will try to explain why I don't use something or why I don't choose to, you know, work that way. It was a very long-winded explanation, wasn't it? Now this is extremely wet. It's going to take a while for this page to dry off. And it is going to be, like, I don't know if you can see that on the camera there, but it is probably going to be quite wrinkly. And that's okay. Perfectly okay with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean all this blue off, and I'll start laying in some other colours. And I've just realised that there's a little bit here that I've missed. Quite often I do this with RJ pages because they're quite involved sometimes, and not so involved that they're hard to colour, but just that I miss little bits like this, and then I have to go back later, and sometimes I can't match the colours up. But I think I've got that all now. You might be all yelling at your screen at me that I haven't, but anyway. So I'll just clean that blue off because I'm sort of finished with that now. And they didn't quite work exactly like the Supertips do, but they're still really handy little marker to work with. And I can't remember what I paid for these. I bought them, they were on Amazon Australia, but they came from overseas, I think, and they came with a packet of paper with them, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 25 in there. That seems an odd number. And I think they could have possibly been a bit of a Prime Day deal. But they just are the children's little Pipsqueaks. So that has started to blend and bleed and work quite nicely together, I think. So I'm going to start putting some other colours on. I think I'll keep to the Pipsqueaks for now. We'll see how far I can get along with the limited set. And there's some different colours in here. This one is called Puppy Beige, Brass Button and Turtle Bronze. So yeah, we can't go past Turtle Bronze, obviously. So So I'll just get some of those out onto the plate. Oh, the beige is very light. And this one, I quite like the look of this one, brass button, for a sort of yellowy based neutral. So I'm going to use that bronze turtle just to go, or turtle bronze, to actually do the turtle's base of its skin. And I will bring some other colours into that later on. So I'm working quite loosely at the moment. I will bring other colours in, and I think this style of illustration would do really well to have a little bit of coloured pencil at the end as well. We'll see how it goes. I always assess that as I go along. And that turtle bronze disappeared very quickly. It's very pale. And with these paler colours, I'm really happy to just be quite loose and washy and abstract with them, because they are so light. They're going to have darker colours built up on them anyway, so you know they're going to just be a base. I don't have to be precise with them. Some of that blue's coming in over the turtle now, and that's okay as well. I don't mind that. There would be some pictures I would hate it, but for this particular one, I'm okay with that. And I'm just going to see if I do that, whether they will bleed or blend very much on the paper. So that's working directly with the marker onto the paper, and then using the water brush just to blend that out and let it bleed. And that's working as well, so that's interesting to know. I was thinking about putting her leggings in that colour, but I've decided against that. I'm thinking they might be nice in bright colours. Maybe her little bag here could be that colour. So they're actually a peculiar little marker when you're holding them in your hand, because you've got adult-sized hands now holding this little fat marker that's rather squat. But it's actually quite comfortable for working with. And we might put a little bit of that in here for now. I might come back later too with gel pens, metallic and sparkly gel pens. It's the sort of picture that might do with some nice shiny sparkles, or the glaze pens or something on it. So that's really, this is all just being treated as a base at this stage. Can't really do a lot with his hat yet because that is so wet. It's going to bleed back into the sky probably. This is Teensy Teal. I'm thinking about teal for her leggings. And I'm thinking a nice solid colour rather than washy. And then what I'm going to do is try using it as a wash, and maybe mixing some of this blue, which is raindrop blue, for the jacket here. So it's not so dark and intense when you mix it with the water, but it's still going to look like it's of the same colour family. So when you're limited with only a certain amount of colours, it's interesting to have a play with the water and just see how much does that change. You can see from there, there to there, it almost looks like I'm using a completely different colour. So it's worth having a play. And I've mentioned before that when it comes to RJHampson books, I feel like some of his illustrations come to life when I think about children's picture book illustrations and colouring them in that way. So I don't try to make them look realistic or lifelike, but I try to use those bright, fun, saturated colours and treat it a bit like a children's book illustration, and I like the way that that tends to work. And sometimes some of the prettiest children's books that I've ever seen illustrated use the watercolour techniques as well. So that's what I tend to go for in this book, and I picked an RJ book up because I just wanted a fun, a fun colour just to help unwind a little bit. And I find that all of his books are really a lot of fun. Oh, I'm sorry, I just knocked the camera there, I think. Okay, so that's looking nice. Could possibly put some of that pale blue in there as well. And I think I might go for something along those lines for the boots here. I kind of want her to blend in with the background a little bit. So that one there was Sweet Violet, and I'm just mixing a little bit of that, I had some of that blue, and I'm going to do a bit of the teal as well, see what I can get. And that will do for starters, and that really is bleeding everywhere here, but that's okay. We'll use acrylic paint markers and some metallic gel pens, glaze pens and so on, and I can disguise a lot of that stuff. Just going to put a bit of that bluish concoction in there for shadow. I don't really at this stage want that blue anywhere else, so I think we might just clean the plate off. So I'm just going to check how long I've been wittering on for. It's just over the half an hour mark. So I think what I will do now is I'll just let this page dry, and then I will come back to you. It might have to be several parts. I still haven't worked out how to get some videos put together. Every editing package that I've tried to use makes my phone crash, so storage wise is still a problem. So I will come back to you when this is dry and we'll do a little bit more on there. So I'll say goodbye for now.